Good afternoon. Welcome to User-Centered Design in Organizations. I hope your week is going well. We're going to be talking about strategies and value creation. Very important concept in a business when it comes to user-centered design and the success of a business. To understand what the strategy is and also how do we create value for a business. Very important elements. Again, it's going to be a short session, but I hope you will enjoy today's topic. And tomorrow we are going to keep the day for Roots, the Roots project. So we are in week 6, and we had our kickoff with Roots, I believe, on week 3, if I'm not mistaken. So that means we haven't been in touch with Roots for almost 3 weeks. So unless some of the team members have been speaking directly to Roots, I think we need to think about what is the update that we need to give to Roots, the format that we want to choose, and we definitely have a lot of content. So if anything, I don't know about you, but you probably should feel a bit overwhelmed. I'm lucky because I can see all the contribution from the research work that is being done to the heuristic evaluation that has been done to the competitive feature set. So there are, what, 11, 13 of us in this class. Everybody looked at 4 sites. So we have looked at about 40 sites, different features and functionality that they offer. And then I think we have a very good overview of where Roots is in comparison to the competition or similar website as well. I think we should already be able to start forming an opinion and be able to come back to them and say, here's what we found so far. What do you think? What I was thinking I would do is at the end of this class, I'm going to list 1 or 2 questions that I'd like for you to think about. Well, maybe you can note it at this point. I don't think it's going to be very much different. But in light of what we've seen on their website, in light of what we've seen navigating through the website, based on what you've seen looking at the other competitor website or industry or out of the industry, when it comes to mobile responsive, or just the experience in general, is Roots in to everything else that we've seen? Like, have we seen something that we really think that is really putting Roots at disadvantage, that is so major that could explain maybe the drop in the performance of their business? Because when we look at their stock options since they went public in 2017, the stock options went really down and has been struggling even before COVID. So we can tell that there's competition, but is the online experience the main factor that we think is actually causing Roots those challenges of either losing customer or not having the conversion that they think they should have? Are they so apart for what we've seen? Is probably the big questions that I think we need to ask ourselves. Are they perfect? No. Is there room for improvement? Definitely. I think that we've seen a lot of examples of little sites that have some key features that would probably benefit Roots, but I definitely have an opinion, but I don't want to bias or influence your thinking. So tomorrow is, based on what you've seen, is Roots such of a disadvantage from a feature set or from an experience that we see on mobile? If so, then how? And what should be the main message that we should actually communicate to Roots based on what we've seen? That will be for you to think. And then tomorrow we can start thinking about this. Hi, Sarah. Great. So today we're going to talk about, as I said, the business strategy. But before I go in, are there any questions, any comments of where we are, what is like almost halfway? So we're in week 6. And again, I'd love to have feedback from the class as well. This is a new course, and I want to make sure that you always feel that there's room for feedback. You can do it here, you can do it by course message, or you can say, Yves, I want to talk to you. It's about adjusting the content, adjusting to the class as well. But I want to make sure that you guys are still excited about this class, this course, and that you're learning something each time to apply it, and in knowing what the context of this class is as well. So the door is always very much open. So we are going to be talking about strategy. Now, I have posted all of the content for this week, so let's just do a quick glance of what the week will look like in terms of even rating. I will just be sharing with you. So I do not have a drop assignment or a lab assignment for this week. So for this week, other than what your team leads may have asked you to do to help for the Roots project. And I know there's some research being done, and there was a survey that we've talked about at some point, but there is no drop date for this week. So you have a bit of a break for this week. And I have marked all of the features that you've sent. Thank you. And next week, we're going to have a meeting with ASP Security as well. But no drop dead assignment for this week. So, and in terms of readings, I have selected a few readings for you. And some of them are readings, but I think you'll be able to glance very quickly at them. So what is strategy, which we will discuss today. And there's another reading that talks about what is strategy, and I think that one is from Michael Porter as well. There's another what is strategy from Michael Porter, which is a PowerPoint, and it's someone who summarized it. I think by now you've heard Michael Porter for probably 3 times. So I did spend a lot of time on getting to know Michael Porter when I was doing my MBA. And I really, really enjoy strategy. I think everything starts from a strategy. And Michael Porter is a really big guru of strategy, business strategy, digital strategy, healthcare strategy. So he's very, very well known. He's a professor at university. I think he's at Humber. Very, very, very well known and respected. There's so many readings about him, and it's a big book. So he's very, very much about strategy, and I've done many courses, several courses in the MBA. I still follow him, and I think he's a great leader. He's kept up to date with the industry and what is happening, and he's adapted his model. He has a 5 forces model that I am also sharing with you, and I don't know that we'll be able to talk about it today. And adapted as well, because technology has removed some barriers, but has also introduced some new barriers. You can read about it, and then next week would be with ASP. So, or the following week, we can maybe expand on the 5 force model that Porter has created, and then we could apply it to Roots as well. But he's a very, very well respected. Just to share a story with you, at one point when I was in Montreal, I was part of a conference, so of technology conferences in Montreal, and I was in charge of looking at speakers. And then I wanted to invite him to come as a guest speaker. And to our big surprise, I think for half an hour of a speech, I wanted him to be the opening keynote speaker for the conference. I think for half an hour, he was charging us like $250,000 US. So he's earned his notoriety by all due respect, but that was not a budget that we could afford. But very, very kind gentleman, and we've had emails exchange on that topic, and I felt terrible because I had to decline. But he's well respected, and I'm sure you will enjoy some of his reading. So for the lab this week, as I said, tomorrow we're going to spend time on Roots. I think we need to step up and think what have we learned from Roots. So we're going to be spending time, and then in terms of the topics for today, what we can start thinking about is what is Roots Canada main strategy. So we can refer to the generic strategies visual that I have created as well in the PowerPoint, today's PowerPoint, and then how do we assess Roots Canada competitive landscape using the Porter 5 forces. But really, I I'd like for this week for us to think about more is about the Roots project. And then what do we want to communicate to them, and in which format as well. And then the strategy elements, we can think about the strategy elements within the next 2 weeks, the next few weeks to come. I think we really have to give an update to them on what we've been doing, because we've been very busy. Okay, so that is this week. So the readings are very light, and the PowerPoint has, I don't know, 40 maybe last slides as well in it. So let's jump into it, unless there are some questions or anything about this week's schedule or material. Oh yeah, so how's everybody doing? Everybody's been very quiet, even last week. How's everybody doing with the semester and the class and the workload?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. So could be better, Sarah?
Things are starting to smooth out a little bit. I think like this week was a total blur for me, I find. I sort of like last week it got to Friday and I went, what the hell, it's Friday? But no, everything's been okay so far. I think like we've sort of hit the hump in the semester where, everything sort of started to do this and then sort of went down again, and then probably soon it'll start to pick back up again.
Well, it's nice to have a bit of a break then, right? So, I feel so disconnected from the March break. So the last I heard, there's like no March break. It goes to April, right? So that hasn't changed. Has it changed? With the speed of things have changing. There's also no March break as it was scheduled. It's later in April, correct?
So we get reading week, which is different. Like our reading week is between week 7 and week 8, or our reading week is week 7. No,
it's
we get
week
week
8.
It's between week 7 and 8. Sorry.
Yeah. So we still actually get our reading week because we're not part of like the public school system. So we don't have to deal with that. Thankfully, thank God. Otherwise, I don't know what we'd be doing. But yeah, the way our semesters are structured, we have time between week 7 and week 8, and then that's sort of our week off, and then we pick back up again from week 8 until week 14.
Well, thank you, because I was so not clueless, I don't know if that's the word, but when I heard March break was reported to April, I thought it was affecting all of us, all of the students. So I thought, oh, I'll be doing class, so I would have shown up on my own. So there's no class. It's really just reading then. So next week we're together. Next week is week 7, and then the week of March 8. Week, so there's no classes. So good. I'm glad to hear that hasn't changed for you then. You'll have a bit of a time where there's no getting on collaborate and then having to listen to lecture. So that's good then. Okay, well, it's not changing anything to our plans then. Awesome. Good. Well, there's this week and next week, and then you guys will have a bit of a break. So I will try to do, well, I think we are asked as professor to not give workload or not give anything for the week. So I think it's really for time for you guys to think and reflect and plan the next part of the semester. That's how I understood it. Okay, so on the topic of assignment and planning, the organizational analysis was due I think sometime in March, but I may push that back further to April. Depending on how our meeting goes with Sarah, then we can assess, do we feel that we have enough, or we need to have more meetings with them to be able to do the analysis that we need to. My feeling says that the March day that we have as is for organizational analysis, I think is not going to be the day. Better, then I would say it's most likely going to be pushed further down into the semester. But at the same time, I don't want it to be all at the end, because we're gonna have Roots, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have the journal, so it's a lot. But I don't think it will be the day that we've set. So anybody else want to share how they're feeling about the semester or class in general, or this class in general? Are we just being shy?
Sorry, Yves, what was your question? My audio cut out.
Oh, how is the class feeling about just in general, the semester, this class, where are we? Where's your head? How are we feeling? Last week I felt everybody was very quiet, and today again. So I'd like to get a sense of how is the class doing.
For me personally, I felt like the last few weeks were like really hectic and overwhelming, but I feel like this week, for example, I'm starting to really get on my feet and like really get a control of things.
Okay.
But certainly the last few weeks I did feel overwhelmed, but I feel like I'm finally, I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, I'm like getting a handle of things.
Okay, so good. Well, yeah, and the other professor have mentioned that they are feeling that the students, and that is you, and that's everybody else that are being taught with the professor, that it's a very, very busy semester for some of you, and I think that you guys are in that category. So, then I'm not surprised to see that you guys are maybe more quiet because there's just so much happening. And then I think in those situations, we feel like, I don't know that I can take even more, learning, right? I just like barely able to keep up. So it's important to be able to share and say, hey, Yves or professor, there's so much happening. We have so much. And then see if there's flexibility, right? In some of the deliverables and some of the assignments. I think as a leader, we want to know. And as I said, I treat this class as we're a business, we're a team together. We're working for Roots, for example, and we are in this big project, in this assignment. I know there's all these other things. And I want to give clear deadlines and timelines so that you guys know, because I know that was confusion. But if this is also making it difficult at times, then feel free to share with me, because I don't want anybody to fail, and no one is failing, but I don't want anybody to fail and feel very stressed, because we know pandemic also adds another extra layer. So thank you for sharing, Brett, how you've been feeling. Marcel also mentioned on the chat that it's been very, very stressed semester. And I know I teach to some of you in this class and other classes have a lot of content too. So, but it's important to feel that you can share this with your leader or myself, because we're people, and I care about how the class is feeling. So this week at least you have a bit of a break. There's no drop deadline, nothing to submit. But tomorrow, though, I'd like for you to really think about, what have we learned about Roots? What do we want to tell Roots? How bad is the situation? Or are they on par, but there are opportunities to differentiate themselves? What that might look like. I think they would really be happy to hear about it as well. And maybe think about, how do we communicate to them? Because we have so much content. We have like all these heuristic, we have 13, 14, we have those competitive analysis, and giving them all the raw data, I think they'll be very, very lost, but they may want to see it too. Speaking of data or raw data, I have posted all of the submissions for the feature set analysis, and but I have removed the names. So it's on the search and other competitive feature sets. It's all there. There's a lot of content. I've made some notes as I was going through all of them to really think about the key items. So tomorrow we can talk about this too. But there's a big project called Roots, and they're excited, and I'm sure they're really looking forward to our next meeting with them. Speaking of that too, they have sent their creative guidelines. So I don't know if it was Marcel or Thomas, I think, who specifically asked about the creative, or anyone else on this class. But that was shared by Roots, and we've added it to the, I believe, creative folder on the share folder. So please take a look at it. And if we ask, there's a reason. So are we learning something new? And then what do we want to do and tell them? So whoever asked that question, remember, will know, and then you can look at what they've provided, and maybe we can talk about that too as well tomorrow. Okay. Anybody else wants to share how their week or their feeling? Yes, it is their branding guide, Marcel. I haven't really looked at it, but it's really like logo size, how much distance. So I don't know if that is what you were looking for. It's on there. Let me just share the link with you. It's a bit slow. Okay, so I put it under creative, but let me, yes, style final, it's a PDF. And I just, yes, Sarah, it was a massive file that Rivati sent. Oh, it's a PDF. So she sent a PDF. It's 28 pages. And then let me just share my screen so that we can. So this is it. The style guide, they call it the style guide, and then they talk about the vision, the values, how we use the logo. So I just put the link on the chat window, and then I just uploaded it. My pleasure. No worries. It's all done. So I think I had a feeling in Rivati reaching out to us, I think she was trying to send us a little message. Hey, how are you guys doing? I felt like she was, you know, she was excited to hear from us and say, I'm here, I'm here. They will be happy to see that we've all been busy and we haven't just sat here and done little. We've been very busy. So we should think about perhaps when is that meeting, and then we can discuss it more details tomorrow. But and then we have ASB next week with Sarah. So and it's going to be this hour, which is very short. So we may have to do off class or half an hour of class. I don't know. So we should, that may be something we should think about tomorrow too. What will be the timing and the format and when? Okay. So let's talk now about business strategy and adding value to a business. So when you hear the word strategy or value creation, what comes to mind for anybody in this class? What is strategy? What is business value? And then you can type it in if you want into the board. Yes, plan direction. Oh, someone has the Google strategy, or perhaps not, but you'll see the definition. What if the definition talks about planning or a plan? Okay, so a plan, it's a plan activity. No worries, it's okay if you did too, Sarah. But yes, it's a plan, it's a plan, it's a plan direction. So it's not something that we necessarily change, decide last minute. But it's something that we that is planned, and it's also usually long-term, mid-term to long-term, and not necessarily short-term as well. So what is strategy? Is a marketing campaign a strategy? Maybe a giving example of a strategy may be a good way to define strategy. But okay, so in a way it is. In a way, a marketing campaign is a strategy. So what would be an example of a strategy?
I guess anything that really has a plan associated with it. So like our project plan that we have in the Google Drive for Roots, you could technically consider that a strategy because that's sort of outlining everything that needs to be done, how it's going to be done, when it's going to be done, and the projected outcome that we want from it. So I guess like the term, you know, that like business strategy is it's sort of like that's sort of like the umbrella term, and then you get into things like creative strategy, marketing strategy, design strategy, UX blueprints. I know they do like business canvases where it's like all these little squares and it's like it shows you how to like find what your value is in your business. I think like that's all. I think strategy is like the broad term, and everything else is sort of like I don't know. I might be wrong, but
No, there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to hear what you guys have understand as strategy as being strategy. This is definitely a possible answer. So I'm hearing strategy in a lot of what you've said, Sarah. So UX strategy, marketing strategy, campaign strategy. So are we saying it's a term that is often used? Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very, very often used. If you were to ask Michael Porter, he would probably say it's often too often used or misused, overused as well. But at the end of the day, a word is a word. It's trying to understand what it is that we're trying to do, I think, is what is the most important. If we try to take the label away and describe what it is that we're trying to do, and understanding the reasons why we do it, I think is far more important than the choice of words as well. Who wants to share their understanding of strategy? So if we say, what is the root strategy? How would we describe, or what would we be looking for when we say strategy, the root strategy? What would we be looking for? So think of culture. We said culture or values is about doing. It's not about saying. I say strategy is the same thing. You could say you have the following strategy, but if in reality you do something that is not in with the strategy, it doesn't matter what you say. Looking, when we think of roots, if we were to say root strategy, what is root strategy? Where would we begin? Mobile. Let's limit it to mobile. What would be mobile roots, mobile strategy? Do they have one?
I feel like they can acknowledge that they need a better mobile experience. I feel like for their strategy, the start of their strategy is acknowledgement. And then in terms of like strategy elsewise, like, yeah, exactly what Sarah just said. I feel like they're trying to target like a bigger customer area, especially even younger people who are like more comfortable with mobile experiences and stuff like that. I feel like their strategy is to increase their profit by creating a pleasurable mobile experience.
Yes. So, so I'm hearing a few things. Definitely, Brad, acknowledging having or not having, I think is the starting point, right? Because then you will decide, do I need to do something, or I don't need to do anything. So you're right in a sense that Roots did say to us, we don't really know what we need to do for mobile. We don't really know what our mobile strategy should be. So they don't really know, but they know that mobile is an important thing because we all use devices, but they don't know how and when and in which capacity should mobile be used. Uh, but knowing is already, I would say, knowing for me is 50% of the solution, because then you can choose to take actions or not. So now you went into more details, Brett. So you've said about maybe their strategies to attract maybe a younger audience. Maybe their strategy is to have a better marketing with maybe their new audience or the new target. So now the question is this strategy or these are tactics to get to your strategy? But then we don't know what their strategy should be. So how then do we know that this is aligned with the strategy? And that's where it gets a bit complex. But yes, but if we put all these words aside, and we don't even use the word strategy, what you said is accurate in the sense that Roots doesn't know what to do for mobile. They actually don't really know if their mobile responsive experience is a good experience. That is one. So this is something we're going to tell them. How good or how bad is it? The second thing will be, what is mobile and what should mobile be? And then we agree on definition. And then we can say, what do we want or what should it be as well? Should mobile be a thing by itself, or should we not even talk about mobile? Or should we be thinking in terms of experiences? Because maybe mobile is just there. It's not about mobile. It's about an experience. I don't know. So absolutely. Anybody else wants to give a try to what strategy might mean in the context of Roots? Do we need Why do we care? Why do we need? Or why are we even talking about strategy and value creation?
I think the first two stages are going to be where we sort of differentiate and prioritize different values for the company. I think that talking about the UX and the research side is really figuring out, okay, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, and this is what we'd like to know. This is sort of the direction that we see the whole project going in. And then once you sort of get into the UX stage, it's like taking that and refining the value and then starting to implement it into different user flows and solutions.
Yes. So you've said a few keywords that you will see in the definition of strategy. How do you differentiate yourself from your competition? Where? How? Or is it a different product, or it's the same feature, but you do it differently so that you're competitive from a cost effectiveness and you make money, but you offer the same feature and the same functionality, and actually you can have a price at a lower price, lower price than your competition because it's costing you less money to produce it. But the value to the customer is the same. They have the same benefits, and maybe Roots Mobile, maybe we'll say the mobile experience, is actually not bad, the mobile per se, but they need to think beyond mobile. They need to think beyond an experience that no one else can actually copy so that the customer feels that there's value and it feels that enough that it's okay to pay more for a hoodie than if I buy the same hoodie at Walmart. Because I feel that all these other things that Roots is doing through my experience is actually enhancing me as a human being, or it's helping me to achieve what I want to achieve as an audience. Yes, it is about should we, or how do we differentiate, and how do we stay competitive, and how do we stay on market too, as well. And then direction. So what you were saying, Sarah, is knowing what the strategy is. Once we define a strategy, it's going to. And should we go left? Should we go straight? Should we go right? Right now, Roots doesn't know where to go when it comes to mobile, do they? They're waiting, right? They don't know where to go for mobile. They've actually been looking at all of the competitors, but they don't really know where they should go for mobile. But once they know, though, then you would think that they'll be able to make choices. So the key thing with strategy, and I would say the biggest value in strategy, first of all, is get alignment. So I would say strategy is probably as important, and it's one of the culture. We set structure. So we talk about organizational structures. We set strategy as part of a structure. Is there a strategy, or there's no strategy? Is there even a budget? There's no budget. Are there resources in place or not to even be able to support the strategy? Is very, very important. It's a reason that it's a reason of being in business, but it really, really guides you of what are we going to do and what are we not going to do. Because right now, if you think about all the competitive analysis that we've done for mobile, when do we pay and why? And let's say that we all have unlimited resources. We could probably do them all. But how do we know which one to pick? How do we know which one not to pick? Is the biggest challenge. And even where should we be focusing? Right? Where should we be focusing? When now we have discovery and we're learning more, but then the next step for us will be solution, or defining that experience, or defining what we think mobile will be. We need to be able to make choices in what we will bring forward. Knowing a strategy or aligning on the strategy will help us to make a lot of choices, and that's one of the biggest wins of doing strategy. And then the other advantage of strategy is not only about making choices, but getting alignment, but it's also corporate-wide. So when we think of structure, we've said culture. The culture is something that you would think that everybody has a role to play and everybody has to actually agree and follow. Same thing with values. The company values are across the organization. The strategy also needs to be across an organization. So it's not a marketing strategy. There's not just a marketing strategy. There's not a creative strategy. There is a strategy by marketing and creative, HR, at the airport, at the hotel, if you own Sunway. Everybody has to be aligned to the same strategy that the company has set. So it's corporate wide and it affects the entire value chain. And that is where Michael Porter comes in and say, the marketing is not a strategy and the campaign is not a strategy. There's a strategy for the business. We want to be different. We want to reach certain markets. And it's not just today's market, it's the ongoing market that you want to be reaching out to. There might be times where you will adjust and you will adapt. And that, I would say, becomes more of a tactic. But overall strategy, and I will share with you some strategy that a business can apply, which are the generic strategies. If your strategy for mobile is about cost, there's a cost effectiveness for your strategy, but you want to bring value, but at a higher price. That can be also okay if there's a business, if there's a market for it. Everybody has to align to that same strategy. And when we say mobile, the challenge with mobile, it's not just a device. It's an experience. And it's an experience and it's a process. And Michael Porter will tell you, if the strategy is not changing a process, if your strategy is not involving pretty much everybody in the business, and it's not touching a process, a change or a new hiring people to be able to make sure that you can deliver on that strategy. It's not a strategy per se. So the messages, it's corporate. It's a corporate-wide choice that you make, and everybody aligns to a strategy. And then hopefully that means we all have common objectives. So we all have a common objective for the fiscal year that we have to meet. And we are aligned. We have no conflicting objectives, which you often hear in a business, which often is because there's a lack. But in an ideal world, we all have the same strategy and we all align. We all have the same objectives, and we either meet or we fail together as a business. But they don't change. The strategy is not something that change very often. You need to adapt your strategy, but it's usually planned for long term. So often people will use strategy when they're really thinking of the tactics as well. So, but I would say UX, user-centered design, is an entity. It's a department. It's part of the value chain. So having UX design as a standalone team that, let's say, is across the entire organization, that has a holistic view and governance, and it's not part of just marketing, but you have the entire ownership and accountability of the customer experience and the customer values. Like, think of Amazon. That is, I would say, is a strategy, because you're positioning UX very particularly outside of any other departments. It's part of the value chain, and you have the entire customer journey across, because we've said we are customer focused, but we're not just doing, and you have you're empowered, and you have to deliver results, and people are looking at you as an entity, and you're part of an entity, and maybe you need to hire people that, like you, that are expert to be able to deliver into. You're not just promoting someone, you're actually going external, and you're putting resources to deliver on, because you've made the choice to do that. I would say that would be part of your strategy. So it's very encompassing, and it's encompassing, and it goes beyond one or two people. And sometimes it's also change, and you'll have change management, you'll have change process, and then you have the politics that will come in. So if you think of Lucy, right, she was part of a new department called digital optimization. She was not part of digital at the beginning, but she was coming in to help the design and the UX and the creative team to actually make better solutions. So was that a strategy? I would say it was probably a strategy to bring a new practice and a new expertise, build a new practice and new expertise that will have to align and fit with the organization. And I would say that was part of the strategy. It is, I think, a good example of a strategy. Did it succeed? Did it fail? Well, there was success, there was failure as well. But it required hiring, it required positioning, it required changing as well. So that was Roger's strategy. And Rogers has the money and the capability and the resources to do it, but another company may not be able to. Some companies may not even have a UX centered design or a UX team, let alone for them to think about optimization. They're not even in the maturity level of being able to have optimization, because you can barely have the basic. And you think of Roots, and we don't know much about Roots yet. We don't know a lot about Roots, how their UX team is, and the director is going on mat leave, so we haven't had a lot of exposure to really what they do from a UX. But I don't know that they're at the maturity level of an optimization, and I will tell you why. Because I don't even know who really owns the customer and who has a true, fully view of the customer and the research that is being done at Roots. We know there's research being done external, but when it comes to customer centric, I have big questions. And maybe this could explain why they don't even know about mobile, what to do with mobile. When you know mobile is the #1 device that people are coming to Roots. But they're retail, right? So they were not born as digital. They were born as retail and as a store. So all of what we know could explain why Roots may be behind as well. Maybe in their strategy, we would discover that there isn't really, in fact, anybody owning the customer experience, and it's split between marketing agencies and who knows who they work with offshore, but no one really owns or feel that they don't know it. Maybe you were going to say we need to have people that actually own, and it's not just the device; it's owning the strategy, owning the digital strategy. So we may come forward with, here's what the strategy should be for mobile. Can they support it? Do they have the resources? Do they even have the knowledge to do it as well? Does it fit with Roots' existing resources or even processes? But I would say that when you think of digital and you think of mobile, you mean change, and you're going to need to bring new people and new expertise to help with that as well. So that is a bit of an intro to what strategy is and what strategy does to our organization. But everything that we've said, that Brett said, that Sarah said about what a strategy is, we can still use the word strategy if we want, but it's something bigger. There's an umbrella. There's something overarching. The decision and the choices about the markets, the segments that we want to attract, the marketing campaigns that we want to put in place, the teams that we want to have in place, the people that we want to hire. But until you have that overarching decisions and thinking, which I'm hoping we're going to be able to help Roots to do, it's going to be hard for them to define what their strategy should be. And any strategy that you want it to be for your business. Any idea is a good idea. And I think that too often a lot of businesses don't really have a clear strategy. And it just, the risk. What is the risk of not having a clear strategy in a digital world or a user-centered design world, or in the world that the business goes? What is the risk of not having a strategy right now, even in the COVID or pandemic? Yeah, it's very chaotic. So yes, lots of money. They lose money. Also, what else will they lose? Yes, customer. Who else? If you are the employee of a business and they keep saying, absolutely, they keep coming to you and say, Sarah, do this. It's the most important thing now. Sarah, tomorrow, drop it, do this. The next week, Sarah, this is more important because our competition has done it, do it. And then someone else comes to you and say, Brett, stop it. Marcel will come. They'll come to Marcel. They'll come to Thomas. They'll come to all of you. So Sarah said, I've been there, and it's very, very painful. The lack of strategy is very painful. Now, do we think that all organizations have a strategy and have a clear strategy? So, on a scale of 10 being 100% of businesses, big businesses like Woods or even Sunwing or Air Canada, where would you put a business like Air Canada in terms of having a clear strategy for when it comes to, let's say, digital? What would be your guess? I would say pre-pandemic. Yeah, I say, oh, 7, Allison. Yeah, so I would say Air Canada. Now, I work at Air Canada Vacation, which is a subdivision of Air Canada. I would say Air Canada had somehow a sense of where they wanted to go digitally, but it was split in so many people across the entire organization that it was really hard to pinpoint what the strategy was, because a lot of people felt that they were owning the strategy. And that's often the challenge with digital. And UX usually is across as well. And you're probably going to be part of digital. And digital is a window on everything that you do as a business. So a lot of people think that they have something, or they each own something. And this is where the ownership and accountability becomes very important, which we know some business structure lack, and other business will have more of it. But Air Canada is very hierarchy and has structure, but they've adapted in a digital world with the digital teams. But I would say, yes, I think Air Canada is probably between a 7 and an 8 in terms of having a sense of digital and the strategy for digital. But they've been very focusing in the last years. They were focusing on acquiring Aeroplan and their loyalty programs. But they were also, every time they were doing this, they were changing their engines, their digital engines, the e-commerce platform. They were changing many, many things. And in fact, for those of you that follow them, they actually were down. The system were down for months, and it was brutal to even call and do anything. Sunwing, if you think of Sunwing, and Sunwing is highly vertically integrated. So Sunwing has the airline portion of their business, 45 hotels in the Caribbean, and then they own the business that actually picks up the customer and brings them to the hotel, looks after the customer when the customer had challenges, and they also have a business that sells all the excursions and, you know, the beautiful romantic dinner on the beach with your loved one, expensive lobster. They own all of this. Do you think Sunwing has a clear strategy of what everybody is doing? And we're talking 20,000 people, the same customer, and managing the same customer, and knowing what to do and what not to do. And Sunwing is a business who's been around for 15 years, and they're actually very successful. Where are they, you believe, where you would think, based on what I told you, they would be on the scale of 0 to 10? Take a guess. They've acquired businesses, they've done acquisition, and they've brought multiple businesses together, grew very, very fast, and they did what was needed to do then to be competitive. Very poor strategy, no strategy, to be honest. There was a clear lack of strategy when it came to digital, and that was my job, to get to a place where we feel that we have a strategy. And I would say that I felt that we had a very good sense of what the strategy should be and what we wanted digital to do and digital to be and do for all of these business lines and how they align. I had a good setup because I was in charge of user experience centered design. So I had UX under me. I had analytics and creative. So I had what I needed. I had the resources. I was set up to have the people to be able to align and march and go towards that strategy. So I would say it probably took about 8 months to really have a bit of a sense of what we think the strategy should be. It's really hard to get to know a business, let alone when it's vertical like Sunwing that has all this complexity. And for anybody, for all of you, you would love to be in that business as a user-centered design, because your customer begins from the time that he type in Google all-inclusive vacation, then that is your customer you're trying to get. And then when they buy from you, they go to the the lounge, you follow them in the plane, then you have at the hotel what the experience is for 7 days, and then when they come back, and all this CRM. Imagine the complexity of defining that strategy. But it was fun. It was really, really exciting. But before we even knew or had a sense of what the strategy was, it was brutal. We've lost so many people, and people were so not clear on how decisions were made. And it was the loudest in the room that would actually decide, which is sometimes not good for the customer. So it's a very, very important element. And I would say, I know it's 1:27, time to go. But when you come to your business, and when you will come to business, when you interview, that is one of your questions. What is the strategy? What is your business strategy? Listen, they're probably going to talk about tactics. Listen to strategy, because, and if it's not existent, then define it. But then the challenge we had at Sunwing, our chief marketing officer, who was my boss, did not have a strategy. She was actually keeping the strategy to herself. Some people will keep the strategy or will keep the information. Controlling, micromanaging. I think we're going to talk about that. Controlling the message as well. So we were all left with, we don't even know what the strategy is. And we had a CEO who didn't care about strategy. He was about money, and then he would do what the competitive is doing now, and then ask people to stop and drop and do. It was really, really tiresome for a lot of our people that have actually left, because they would start on working on projects, and they were very, very excited about a project, and then they would have to drop, and then something else will come. They would always be interrupted. So they always had a feeling they were never delivering really anything. Anything substantial. They were just putting bricks on the wall, but they didn't know they were building a church. So I think I've used that analogy. It's really, really powerful. So 1:28, it's time to go. What I'm going to do is, the deck is available. I will invite you to read through the deck, and then perhaps maybe there's tomorrow if there's something that I want to surface. But this is the reality of this 1 hour class. It's so fast. But I hope you get a better sense of what strategy is, and how important, and how it's bigger than just a marketing campaign, and how it affects everybody. But so I would really like for us to talk about roots. So think about the question I asked: how bad is roots? How good? Or it's not that bad, but there's all these other things that we should consider for them, and then the format, and when do we go back to them? I think they will be happy to hear from us. Are there any questions about anything about strategy? Okay, so I feel better to know that you guys feel a little bit better from being overwhelmed to being a bit more under control. There's still a reading week, so I'm excited to know there's a reading week for you. And then we'll see you tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Hi.
Hey, Alessandra.
Hi. I actually have a question for the usability class. Can I ask
Which
that?
class?
Our usability testing class.
Oh, awesome. Yes.
I'm just what's due tonight? Because I know is it just the notes?
So what is the I need to see all of the notes. So I need to know how many participants you have done and all of the raw notes that all the observer or the moderators have taken. So that tomorrow I will know that all the sessions are completed and then the raw notes and everybody has been taking notes. The observer has been taking notes in the raw material. Now, I know that I've mentioned that I'm going to need to have a summary of what you guys have learned or found out in the session, but that summary is something here. But definitely is the notes that the observers have taken is very is a priority. So that tomorrow we can talk about analysis.
Okay, so we can just put them in one document, everyone's notes.
Yes, put all in one document. Yes, it's actually preferable. A PDF all in one document. If you have sessions that you recorded, if you recorded sessions, then maybe you want to make that available on the server or on the G drive or something, so I can look at some as well, some of them. But yes, that's really, it's just the raw material at this point.
Perfect. Okay, for sure we need the report. Or like
how did it go for you?
We did good. We did.
No, it's not the report, but
the only issue we had was we only were able to get 4 done.
4?
Yeah, because during the weekend, no, we couldn't organize the time to get the rest done because of work schedules and stuff.
Yeah. So the challenge you have with 4 is you may actually not really find patterns when you do your analysis, and you may feel that it's very light, that you may not have a lot of substantial data that you will have found. So that's the drawback. The second thing is, I don't know if everybody had a chance to be a moderator at least once. In moderation, you feel better when you've done 2, 3, and 4. That's the other drawback as well. But if I feel that tomorrow that your team is not the only team in that situation, then maybe tomorrow we may keep some time to do more. But tomorrow is only an hour. But maybe we're going to find time to do more, maybe 1 or 2 other sessions tomorrow. So that Thursday, then we do full analysis of your raw data.
Okay.
As well. Good.
Yeah,
okay. Was there anything else, Alessandra?
No, I just wanted to clarify what was to be done by tonight.
Good. And how are you doing with this class?
I'm doing good so far with this class. I think I'm just feeling like overwhelmed and stressed overall with the semester so far, but everything else is getting done. So
yeah, I would say, I don't know, but perhaps I'm off. But the workload for UX and organization, I think it's not as high as the other workload if I compare usability testing and information architecture, right?
No, for sure. I think it's just even for, I think most of the transfer kids too control in different streams in classes that like all the workload is just from different classes, different semesters. It's just more hectic than I guess being in one semester. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, feel free to share. I mean, thank you for sharing the feedback with me and sharing with other professors as well. We talk, right? So we talk about the semester and the program, and we debrief as well. So we all did it. We already started. We've already started a mirror wall where we have what's good and what's maybe a challenge for all of our classes and the courses. So we care about putting the best in place, the best structure. We talk about structure, the best structure in place for success as well. So very, very important. This is why I open up and ask for feedback, because otherwise then we just make up our own, and it's like creating our own design, right? And no user feedback. It's very risky. So thank you for sharing and continue to do so. Okay, perfect. So we'll see you tomorrow then.
Yes. Okay.
Enjoy your afternoon, Alessandra. Bye-bye.